The kingdom of Amaryllis, which has fallen under a deep curse, its people are trapped in an endless sleep by a wicked witch. Thorny vines swallowed the castle, while a fearsome dragon flew above, keeping all intruders at bay. Only one could break the spell, someone brave enough to awaken the princess. And so the story begins. A young warrior crouches behind a crumbling wall, gripping his sword. His eyes lock on the dragon. Heart pounding, he lunges forward and slashes its massive leg with all his strength. But instead of falling, the dragon turns, eyes blazing with fury. Panic surges through him. He runs, barely dodging the beast's relentless pursuit. Just as he pushes himself forward, he collapses. Gasping, he turns back and freezes. The dragon is motionless, its massive form sprawled lifelessly. Cautiously, he steps closer, sword ready. A hesitant poke, no movement, no growl. It's dead. His chest heaves as triumph washes over him. Breathless, blood trickling from his lips, he places his hands on his knees, bowing slightly. 3 grueling days of battle, and at last he has won. A grin creeps onto his face. He checks the map for further instructions, reading about climbing the tower after defeating the dragon. His task is clear. Reach the sleeping princess's chamber, kiss her, and lift the curse, waking everyone in the land. Arriving at the chamber, he hesitates, feeling annoyed at the idea of kissing a stranger. But with the entire kingdom at stake, he takes a deep breath, gathers his courage, and with full force pushes open the massive door. But shock hits him. 7 princesses are curled up on the massive bed. Panic sets in. He frantically checks the map again. No mention of multiple princesses. Flustered and unsure, he decides to wake at least one. Guilt gnaws at him, but with the kingdom's fate on the line, he hesitantly leans in and places a reluctant kiss. In an instant, her eyes fly open. She bolts upright, staring at him in utter confusion. She is the 3rd princess, Clare. Before he can introduce himself, she wakes up in fright, throws a pillow at him, then grabs a fruit bowl and hurls it next. She demands to know why a boy is in their room. Panicked, he tries to explain, but she doesn't listen and shouts for the other princesses to wake up. But no one stirs. She freezes in shock. He, still dodging objects, hurriedly introduces himself, Prince Alec of Ludovechia, here to save them all. Clare is shocked, even more so when he reveals they have been asleep for over 30 years due to the witch's curse. He briefly mentions the dragon he defeated and explains that waking all the princesses will break the curse and restore the kingdom. Seeing her stunned expression, he reassures her and offers to help wake the others. But before he can finish, she dashes outside without listening. Worried, he follows her down the stairs, his legs weak from 3 days without rest. As she reaches the ground floor and sees the guards and her parents asleep, she is shocked. Alec, noticing her panic, tries to reassure her that they will wake up soon. But instead of worried, she looks amazed, her excitement growing as she spots even her teacher and the guards in deep slumber, like something out of a fairy tale. She runs around, marveling at the scene, until she catches Alec watching. Quickly composing herself, she apologizes for getting distracted and pretends to be concerned. Alec, however, is confused. She doesn't seem worried at all. In fact, she looks like she's enjoying this. Dismissing his confusion, he curiously asks if all the sleeping girls are princesses. When she confirms, he grows worried. Does he have to wake all of them to break the curse? Understanding his concern, she quickly suggests they go back to her sisters. Climbing the stairs, she curiously asks why he woke her up, making him flustered. Excited, she immediately asks if he has some kind of magic to break the curse. Panicked, he rushes into the princess's chamber, loudly telling her to stay outside so no one sees his magic. Shutting the door, he leans against it, panting, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. Embarrassed, he dreads the thought of her finding out how he actually woke her up. Now looking at the 6 remaining princesses, he is determined to finish quickly before getting caught. Moving at lightning speed, he kisses them one by one. All 6 woke up, stretching and greeting each other, completely unaware of how they were awakened. While waiting outside, Princess Clare smiles at the birds and enjoys the pleasant weather. Suddenly, a loud thud startles her. Inside the chamber, Princess Charlotte glares at Prince Alec, scolding the guards for letting him in. Before she can say more, Clare rushes in, explaining that he traveled a long distance just to save them. Charlotte, shocked, completely misses the point and instead questions why Clare was outside in her nightdress. She panics for a moment, realizing she hadn't noticed before, but quickly relaxes, knowing no one else is awake to see her. Princess Charlotte, still missing the point, brushes it off and angrily turns to Prince Alec, shouting at him to leave their room. She scolds him, accusing him of planning to spy on them while they change. Stepping out of the chamber, Alec feels both embarrassed for upsetting the princess and relieved that no one caught him in the act. With a deep sigh, he relaxes, knowing he has completed his mission. He recalls that years ago, he sat on the ground, bruised and sulking. His mother, noticing his wound, looked worried and assumed his brother was responsible. She was ready to intervene, but he quickly dismissed her concern, insisting that he was simply weak and his brother was only teaching him a lesson. She sighed and offered to read him a picture book. He refused, claiming he wasn't a child anymore. But when she casually mentioned the tale of the sleeping princess curse, his confidence wavered, clearly caught off guard. After hearing the whole story, he curiously asked if everyone in Amaryllis was asleep. When his mother confirmed, she turned to switch off the light, only to freeze at the sight of tears in Alec's eyes. Clearly he had developed a deep sympathy for the kingdom. With dramatic determination, he declared that one day, after gaining enough power, he would slay the dragon and save them all. His mother, both proud and amused, hugged him, agreed, and then firmly suggested he get some sleep first. 10 years later, now grown, Alec sits before his mother's grave. A guard arrives, and the king summons him. Inside the castle, Alec faces the king of Ludovicia. Shocked, the king questions if he truly wishes to take on such a deadly challenge. Alec nods, eager to prove himself. The third princess looks worried. Countless warriors have tried and perished. The first prince sneers, laughing at Alec's weakness and mocking his sword, daring him to prove his worth. Alec remains calm and humbly accepts the taunt. His father grants him 1 year to break the curse. He warns of the dragon and the deadly magic. Alec accepts without hesitation. Mounting his fastest horse, he rides toward the long-cursed land of Amaryllis. His goal is clear: defeat the dragon, break the curse, and bring Amaryllis under Ludovicia's rule. Fear lingers in his heart, but determination drives him forward. He must wake them all and warn them of the looming danger. Standing in the castle, he steadies himself. How does he prove he's not a threat? The still asleep guards leave him stunned. Is no one waking up? He lifts a metal mask to check, only to find the guard is completely out cold. As he scans the map for clues, Princess Chiara suddenly appears behind him, sitting uncomfortably close on the stairs. She grins, clearly proud of how fast she changed outfits, because that matters. Before he can react, she cups his face, making his brain freeze, then casually pops a pill into his mouth like he's a clueless child. Baffled by her actions, he stares at her in shock, but she just chuckles, teasing him for his reaction. She casually explains that the pill is for his facial wounds, then with a sweet smile, asks if he has any more injuries, promising to heal them all if they're ever alone. His panicked expression speaks volumes, and noticing this, she quickly drops the idea as the other princesses approach. He whips around, surprised to see all the princesses descending the stairs, dressed in royal gowns, excitedly admiring the cool weather while apologizing for keeping him waiting. Chiara, glancing back at him with a playful smile, reassures them that he didn't wait too long. As the princesses settle in, Clare cheerfully introduces Prince Alec from the kingdom of Ludovicia. She then takes turns introducing herself and her sisters one by one. Just as the formalities wrap up, Princess Elisa excitedly raises her hand, only to ask about lunch. Her sister quickly reminds her of the serious situation, but Elisa, unfazed, explains that skipping breakfast has left her starving. When Alec regretfully informs them that all the cooks are still asleep, a wave of shock ripples through the group. Weren't they all supposed to wake up once the curse was broken? Even he looks disappointed. After all, he followed the story's steps exactly, yet the curse remains, and even the thorny vines haven't disappeared. Determined, he urges them to wait a little longer while he searches for the missing piece of the puzzle. Before Alec can finish his thoughts, Clare eagerly taps his back, excitedly asking what magic he used to wake them. If they figure it out, they might be able to wake everyone else too. The other princesses immediately agree, making Alec flustered. There's no way he's admitting how it actually happened. Fortunately, the topic shifts when Princess Euchar curiously asks about the scroll in his hands. When he explains that it contains Amaryllis traditions and stories, she excitedly asks to take a look. He almost hands it over, until he remembers the section about the kissing method. His face goes pale. Panicking, he quickly pulls it away, mumbling something about bloodstains. But Euchar isn't so easily deterred, insisting she still wants to see it, leaving him awkwardly trapped between confessing or dodging the truth. Just then, the princesses turn their attention to a new problem. With all the maids still asleep, they're left with endless chores: laundry, cooking, cleaning. While most groan at the realization, Clare, surprisingly, seems excited. Seizing the chance to change the subject, She cheerfully offers Alec a tour of the castle, which he gratefully accepts. Everyone is stunned when Princess Elisa nearly collapses from hunger. But the moment she steps into the kitchen and spots the untouched feast, her eyes sparkle, and her mouth practically waters. Some of the sisters hesitate, questioning if food left untouched for 30 years is even safe to eat. But the instant Elisa takes a bite and beams with delight, all hesitation disappears. Excited, the princesses eagerly dig in, while Alec, watching their single-minded enthusiasm for food, starts to wonder if they really are royal. As Princess Elisa inspects a pot, Alec notices an egg stuck to her face. When he points it out, she boldly leans in and orders him to remove it. Flustered, he hurriedly wipes it off. Then, with a playful smirk, she calls him delicious. Alec freezes. Did she just compare him to food? Before he can react, another princess calls Elisa, abruptly ending the bizarre moment. As Princess Euchar searches an ancient stove for a pan to cook an omelette, Alec accidentally glances at her back. She bends down, puzzled by the thorny vines even in this place. But when she suddenly turns and suggests he check the stove, he panics, hastily assuring her he wasn't looking at her. She, of course, is completely confused. Standing up, she picks up a microscope and is fascinated to find even the food had been asleep yet remains fresh. Alec, meanwhile, finds her fascination rather amusing. Observing the vines, she wonders how they'd grown without water and decides to study them further. Alarmed, he warns her not to touch them, but she is too excited by the discovery to listen. Her eagerness to explore outside the castle shocks him. Only now does he realize that since birth, none of them had ever stepped beyond these walls. The curse had spread across the entire kingdom and eventually trapped even the castle. As he ponders this, he nearly jumps out of his skin when Euchar suddenly leans in, using the microscope to examine his unusual eye color. Panicked by her closeness, he barely breathes until another princess calls them, giving him the perfect excuse to escape. The group excitedly decides to eat outside, enjoying the fine weather. As all the princesses head outside, Princess Clare cheerfully suggests he follow her. Walking down, Alec is amazed by the breathtaking garden. Clare happily explains that the last time she visited, she and Euchar caught too many bugs, resulting in a ban from returning. After arriving at the main spot, he helps Princess Flora lay out the mat. When she apologizes for making him work, he dismisses it calmly, thinking she's the only truly composed princess. But his thoughts are cut short by the sudden sound of laughter. Turning toward the commotion, he freezes in shock. Princess Charlotte is assisting her sisters in undressing. The other princesses eagerly try to strip as well, but Charlotte firmly suggests they wait their turn so she can do it properly without tearing the fabric. As soon as the princesses finish, he is stunned as they suddenly dash in one direction and, without hesitation, leap into the water. They seem overjoyed, happily splashing around as they enjoy their swim. Then Princess Euchar rushes up to him, noticing his flushed face and panicked expression. With a sharp glare, she warns him not to even think about doing anything suspicious. As he watches all the princesses happily playing in the water, Princess Euchar coldly calls them childish. Adjusting a pair of swimming goggles she found deep in the castle, she insists they should be used for swimming, then promptly jumps into the water to test them. He secretly admires her resourceful spirit. While they enjoy swimming, he glances back and is startled to see Princess Mia sitting quietly, clutching her teddy bear with a sad expression. Curious, he asks why she isn't joining them. With a gloomy look, she declares that she hates swimming, it's too dangerous, and the water is full of unknown creatures. Just then, a butterfly flutters by and lands on her hair. He casually points it out, but the moment she realizes, she panics, screaming in terror. Apparently, she despises bugs. He quickly tries to calm her down, gently waving the butterfly away and assuring her it's gone. Still trembling, she lowers her head, then, without warning, throws her arms around him in a tight hug, leaving him completely stunned. As she lifts her teary eyes to meet his, she suddenly turns red, then dashes off, leaving him utterly baffled. As he looks back, he is surprised to see Princess Flora lying calmly. She explains she was napping under the cool sunlight. When he worries she might catch a cold, she dismisses it with a smile and suggests he rest too, knowing he must be exhausted. Seeing his tired face, she gently places his head in her lap, urging him to nap. Shocked but grateful, he thanks her and chooses to lie on the ground instead. A sudden gust of wind lifts her shirt slightly, making him turn red with panic. Realizing, she quickly apologizes and rushes off to change. He sets aside his sword and map, finally relaxing. Watching the princesses play in the lake, he enjoys the peaceful moment. but his calm is broken when Princess Clare approaches in her swimming dress. Panicked that she might catch a cold, he quickly removes his jersey and places it over her shoulders. As they sit together, Princess Clare curiously asks about them sleeping for almost 30 years. He, growing serious, urges her to help wake up the entire nation quickly, which she agrees to. Excited by the unusual situation, she remarks on how thrilling it is that the whole country is asleep. But noticing his odd expression, she quickly apologizes, which he dismisses with a smile. Suddenly moving closer, she asks about his purpose for visiting and inquires about the scary dragon. He calmly explains that he never feared the dragon. His dream had always been to save this kingdom. He also expresses his happiness when she was the first to wake up. Confidently, he assures her that he will break the curse and save everyone. As they talk, the map lies on the ground behind them. Listening to him with admiration, she suddenly loses her balance when a strong gust of wind blows away the jersey he had given her. Trying to catch it, she stumbles, and as he reaches out to steady her, they both end up falling into the water, along with the map, which drifts a few meters away. As he asks with concern if she's all right, he notices Claire's flushed face. Realizing she can swim, he quickly apologizes and moves away, but is shocked when she grabs his shirt, blushing, and softly asks him to stay a little longer. With her face turning crimson, she stands close to him in the water, raising her hand as if to touch his face, only to freeze at the loud shouts of her sisters. Looking in their direction, he sees all the princesses glaring at him in shock and anger. Clare hesitantly asks if everything is okay, but Princess Flora silently holds up the map, making his worry intensify. He hurriedly tries to explain, but Princess Elisa angrily questions if this was why he hid the scroll from them earlier. Frustrated, she also accuses him of kissing a girl so casually, making him turn red with embarrassment. As all the princesses look at him with disgust, he feels guilt creeping in. Bowing his head, he insists he never intended to deceive them. Princess Charlotte coldly reminds him of the severe punishment for such actions, but due to his fight with the dragon, reluctantly spares him on one condition. She orders him to leave and return to his country, declaring they will handle the curse on their own. Stunned, he struggles to respond, until everyone, including him, is further shocked when they notice Clare silently turning away, tears in her eyes. As she walks off crying, the other princesses, worried, immediately follow her, leaving him bewildered and shaken. Bowing alone, he feels guilty for not telling the princesses everything earlier. Should he just leave this country and go back? But he refuses to do that. He decides to warn them about the upcoming attack, but he knows they won't believe him. His only option now is to break the curse and earn their trust. Holding the map, he takes a deep breath, only to realize he has no idea where to start. Lifting a curse might actually be harder than fighting a dragon. At night, Princess Clare tosses and turns in bed, unable to sleep, thanks to him. By morning, as birds chirp cheerfully, he attempts to hunt one with his sword, and fails miserably. His stomach growls in protest. With no energy and a broken sword, due to that dragon fight, he bends down dramatically, convinced hunger will be his undoing. Just then, a delicious aroma fills the air. Following the scent like a starving wolf, he stumbles upon a feast of perfectly cooked food. His instincts scream eat, but his morals whisper don't be a thief. Before he can decide, he hears footsteps. The princesses are approaching, carrying dishes in their hands. Panicked, he scrambles for a hiding spot. As the princesses excitedly place the food on the table, he hides under it, shivering with embarrassment. If they find him here, he's doomed. While sipping tea, Princess Flora expresses concern about Claire skipping meals, and the others confirm she hadn't slept all night. Princess Chiara, reclining in her chair, casually stretches her long legs, almost touching him. He panics, twisting and turning to avoid contact. Princess Charlotte, still fuming over his actions, scolds him. Flora, ever the peacemaker, defends him, saying he was only trying to break the curse. Charlotte dismisses it, reminding everyone that he never told them the truth. They figured it out themselves. Meanwhile, as she angrily moves her legs, he barely dodges another close call. The conversation shifts to how to break the curse, and they decide to do some research. The princesses then divide chores, washing, cooking, cleaning, while he sighs in relief as they finish eating and stand up. Princess Elisa is still seated, finishing off the leftovers. Unfortunately, a tomato rolls off the table. As she bends down to grab it, their eyes meet, startles her into a loud scream. The girls furiously scold him. He tries to explain, but they don't listen. They grab him and throw him out of the castle, warning him never to return. lying outside, exhausted and hungry. He refuses to give up. He gathers his strength. He won't die like this. Meanwhile, Princess Flora and Elisa knock on Clare's door, leaving a meal tray outside. Breakfast and royal tea for better sleep, they announce before walking away. Clare sighs, opens the door, takes the tray, and closes it again. Then, another knock. Expecting her sisters, she tiredly opens the door, only to freeze. Alec stands there, barely conscious, swaying at the entrance. Struggling to stay upright, he weakly mumbles an apology, insisting he never means any harm. But before he can finish, he collapses. Panicked, she pulls him inside. As he eats, strength quickly returns. Watching him warmly, she scolds him for not eating the day before. He admits it, but immediately bows his head. He comes to apologize, yet once again, she saves his life instead. Before guilt consumes him, she lifts the royal tea and waves off his apology, simply stating the truth. He saves them. His eyes widen. She continues, acknowledging the risks he takes to wake them and break the curse. Bowing her head, she sincerely thanks him, but then suddenly starts to cry. She whispers that she still can't forgive him. Alec tenses. Seeing the sudden shift, he quickly stands, stepping closer in concern. Meanwhile, Elisa wanders through the garden, enjoying the fresh air. Curious, she asks Flora about the royal tea. Flora grins, casually revealing that she mixes fortified alcohol into it, just to help Clare relax. Back in the room, upon noticing the alcohol in the tea, Alec is shocked. Meanwhile, Clare, now half-conscious, stumbles toward the bookshelf and hands him a book. As he takes it and begins reading, he freezes. The book describes a political marriage, a handsome gardener sneaking into a lady's room at night, and much more. Before he can react, a pillow smacks him in the face as Clare, now fully awake and blushing furiously, yells at him to stop reading the titles out loud. Still baffled, he glances at the rest of the books, all with equally questionable titles. Seeing his expression, Clare, hugging the books affectionately, bashfully admits that these are her secret treasures, carefully collected every time the maids tried to throw them out. As Alec flips through the book, he hesitantly asks if it's all about love. Clare, blushing furiously, eagerly leans in, excitedly summarizing the dramatic romance scenes, especially the intense carriage moment. He barely processes her words before freezing in shock as she suddenly pouts, declaring she's been waiting forever for her first kiss. But just as quickly, her expression crumbles and she bursts into tears. Confused, he stares at her. Through sniffles, she nods, devastated. She had been planning something exciting for this moment, and now she can't even remember it. Just as Alec tries to process everything, Clare suddenly hurls her books aside, her face crimson red as she inches closer. With an intense, affectionate gaze, she softly requests him to kiss her again. Before he can even blink, she grabs his shoulders, shoves him onto the bed, and kisses him. Panic, shock, utter chaos in his brain, and just when he thinks it can't get any worse, the alcohol kicks in. Clare slumps onto him and immediately passes out. A day later, now outside, Alec sits with his head buried in his hands, drowning in worry and confusion. He replays the situation in his mind. First, he kissed all the princesses, and that broke the curse. Now Clare kissed him back, and she's been asleep ever since. So did she just reverse the spell? Frustrated, he groans, leans back, and stares at the sky, this entire thing making zero sense. But before he can spiral further, Clare suddenly appears above him, peering down at his face. He screams. She jumps back, blushing furiously, then quickly bows an apology for her highly improper behavior this morning. Alec, still in shock, stares blankly. Did she just apologize for kissing him? And just when he thinks he's heard it all, Clare meets his gaze, clears her throat, and with absolute seriousness, offers to help him reconcile with all the princesses as compensation. Seeing his shocked and baffled reaction, Clare firmly confirms that she is indeed serious. She knows he's doing all this to protect the kingdom, so she agrees to help, but only to arrange meetings with the princesses. Whether they forgive him or not would be entirely their choice. Alec, stunned by her willingness, steps closer, grabs her, and gratefully thanks her. Clare, blushing furiously, immediately pulls away, realizing how close they are. Alec, sensing the awkwardness, quickly steps back, hands raised, signaling he meant no harm. Wanting to change the subject, Clare picks up a lantern and heads outside, looking oddly excited as she starts strategizing. With a wooden stick in hand, she expertly draws a plan on the ground, sketching out the 6 remaining princesses. Alec watches in awe. She's really good at this. Clare, proud of her masterpiece, beams with excitement and suggests that he start with Princess Chiara. Alec, shocked, questions why Chiara should be their first choice. Clare, with a calm smile, explains that Chiara doesn't seem angry with him. If anything, she appears to be enjoying the situation. Recalling Chiara's usual cheerful and unpredictable nature, Alec realizes Clare has a point. Since Chiara enjoys unexpected events, she might be the easiest to reconcile with. Seeing the logic, he nods in agreement, ready to approach her first. Following Clare's advice, Alec cautiously trails behind as Chiara heads to the garden to gather herbs. Staying hidden among the trees, he watches her smiling while collecting them. Panic sets in. Unsure how to call out to her, he instinctively ducks behind the bushes. But before he can think of a plan, Chiara suddenly peeks at him, casually addressing him as a suspicious person, and inquiring if he needs something. Startled, he lets out a loud yelp. Flustered, he stammers in broken words, offering to help. Without hesitation, Chiara cheerfully hands him a heavy basket of herbs before striding off with an air of confidence. Curious, Alec hesitantly asks if she plans to make herbal tea. But instead of answering, she simply smiles and gestures for him to follow. He becomes stunned as he realizes they are entering the bathroom. His confusion only grows, prompting Chiara to casually explain her long-held wish to create a medicinal herbal bath that enhances natural beauty with its soothing aroma. Without hesitation, she sweetly instructs him to crush all the herbs she randomly tosses into the basket. As he obediently follows her directions, she smirks and teasingly asks if he's trying to make up with her. Panic hits him instantly. Has she figured him out? Before he can stammer a response, sudden commotion outside the door makes both of them freeze, turning their shocked gazes toward it. Holding the bags of herbs, she looks panicked, realizing the others have arrived much sooner than expected. She had planned to invite them for the medicinal herb bath, but now there's no time. Meanwhile, he grows even more flustered. If all the princesses find him here, the situation would be far from ideal. His heart races as he glances around nervously, while she also appears worried, realizing there's only one way out. Princess Elisa enters first, beaming with excitement as she swings the door open, thrilled to be the first to arrive at the bath. The other princesses soon follow, equally eager to enjoy the early morning soak. With cheerful chatter, they begin undressing and stepping into the warm tub. The soothing water instantly melts away their fatigue from yesterday's household chores. As they relax, Princess Flora gently lifts a handful of herbs, inhaling the calming fragrance with delight. Realizing that the wonderful scent comes from Princess Chiara's herbs, the sisters share curious glances. With a hint of concern, they begin asking each other, "Where is Chiara?" Hiding behind the pillar with Princess Chiara, he feels completely embarrassed, already imagining the disaster that awaits if he gets caught. Even though Clare is on his side, there's no doubt that the other princesses would scold him mercilessly if they found him here. Just as he struggles to keep his panic in check, Chiara leans in with a mischievous smirk, whispering that this time, he won't escape punishment. His face pales instantly, his mind racing in confusion. But before he can react, she suddenly gestures for him to follow her, leaving him even more shocked and bewildered. As all the princesses enjoy their relaxing herb bath, he silently and cautiously follows Chiara. She leads him into a separate private bath, quietly closing the door behind them. His shocked expression at her unexpected help only makes her smile playfully, as if she's enjoying the situation. Meanwhile, he quickly scans the room for an escape, eyeing the small window. For a moment, he seriously considers squeezing through it, but after realizing there's no way he'd fit, he immediately abandons the idea, feeling even more trapped than before. Water splashes out from the lion statue's mouth as Chiara happily tosses herbs into the tub. Watching her, he cautiously asks if she's preparing the medicinal bath for herself. Without hesitation, she corrects him, explaining that she gathered these herbs for his wounds, the ones he received while fighting the dragon. As realization hits him, his eyes widen in shock. She's preparing the bath for him? Now sitting close to the tub, Chiara smiles warmly and informs him that this is a gift for their friendship, a statement that leaves him even more shocked. As she steps closer, she casually asks him to remove his top, making him freeze in place, utterly stunned. Seeing his reaction, she smirks slightly, reminding him of their first meeting, when she had offered to examine his wounds, but only when they were alone. Her strange demand leaves him completely stunned, and he instinctively refuses to remove his top in front of the princess, as she insists with heartfelt sincerity that she prepared this medicinal bath just for him as a sign of their friendship. His awkwardness deepens. Flustered and unable to refuse any longer, He hesitantly removes his shirt. She beams with delight, even clapping excitedly. Trying to downplay the moment, he shrugs off his injuries, claiming they aren't that bad. But as soon as she gets a proper look, her expression shifts to shock and concern. His body is covered in wounds, far worse than she had realized. Confused, he explains that he has only changed his clothes once since his battle with the dragon, when his outfit was completely torn. While she understands, she studies his injuries carefully, her concern growing. Scolding him for his carelessness, she warns that if left untreated, his wounds could get infected and worsen, making him visibly uneasy. She calmly offers him the medicinal herb bath, assuring him that she will also prepare a compress for his wounds. Though he thanks her sincerely, he remains deeply embarrassed and hesitant about taking a bath in her private room. Noticing his nervousness, she smirks in amusement. Turning her gaze away with a light laugh, she playfully suggests that he should just take the bath, making his awkwardness intensify even further. As he slowly steps into the tub, his body trembles, both from nervousness and the scalding heat of the water, which feels almost unbearable. His face flushes as he struggles to adjust, but for the sake of friendship, he grits his teeth and determines to endure the bath. Suddenly, he freezes in shock and terror as she approaches from behind, standing uncomfortably close. Her voice, soft yet curious, asks if the water is too hot to bear. Though his skin burns from the heat, he forces a strained smile, insisting that it's completely fine, despite his obvious discomfort. She raises an eyebrow at his uneasy expression before sitting beside the tub, gently swirling the rosemary in the water. As the fragrant leaves drift, she calmly explains that while it may sting at first, rosemary's natural healing properties will ease the pain and reduce inflammation. Surprised by her knowledge, he stares in shock. Amused by his reaction, she smirks, tosses in the remaining herbs, and eagerly shares how she learned all this from the royal gardener in her free time. As she moves closer, gently attempting to wrap her cloth around his wounded arm, he instinctively pulls away, insisting that it might get dirty. However, she simply smiles sweetly, her soft gaze locking onto his, momentarily leaving him mesmerized. Undeterred, she calmly reaches out again, carefully wrapping the cloth around his wound, but the sharp pain causes him to flinch violently, his hand jerking back on reflex. Her smile fades into concern as she studies his reaction. With a slight tilt of her head, she softly asks if he's all right. On hearing her concern, he lets out an awkward laugh, forcing a smile as he pretends that the pain is nothing and he can handle it just fine. She doesn't seem convinced but tries again, gently wrapping the cloth around his wound. The pain is still evident on his face, though he quickly turns away to hide it. Taking the chance, she swiftly secures the bandage, her skilled hands working with precision. He watches in silent shock, amazed at how effortlessly professional she seems in treating his injuries. However, before he can fully process it, he freezes as she suddenly places a gentle hand on his shoulder from behind. Her voice is calm and polite, filled with genuine gratitude as she thanks him for doing all this for their sake. But before either of them can react, a sudden rustling outside the door makes them both stiffen in panic. Meanwhile, Princess Elisa freezes in shock, sensing something unusual coming from one of the private rooms. It feels suspicious, and just as she is about to speak, Princess Lot, equally surprised, confirms that the disturbance is coming from the room with the lion's mouth fountain. Elisa's sharp senses immediately pick up the distinct scent of rosemary wafting through the air. A sudden wave of curiosity washes over her, and without hesitation, she dashes toward the room to investigate. The others, impressed by her keen sense of smell, exchange glances, some admiring her sharp instincts, while others caution her not to run recklessly in the bathhouse. Upon realizing the approaching footsteps, Alex stiffens in alarm, urgently whispering to confirm if the princesses are indeed heading toward the room. As the reality sinks in that the door has no lock, both become even more panicked. If he gets caught here, especially after the breakfast disaster, his situation would turn completely hopeless. Before he can even think of an escape, Chiara suddenly moves. Without hesitation, she slips off her clothes and slides into the bath. Alex's mind goes blank, his face turning scarlet. Was this her idea of a solution? As the princesses excitedly slam open the private bathroom door, their curiosity at its peak, Chiara remains perfectly composed, leisurely bathing in the tub as she casually waves at them. Elisa, delighted to find her there, dashes toward the tub with a bright laugh. Meanwhile, beneath the water, Alex silently struggles for his life. Crouched under the surface, gripping herbs like a lifeline, he desperately tries to remain hidden. His face shifts to an alarming mix of blue and crimson. a result of oxygen deprivation and the scalding water mercilessly stinging his wounds. Determined to endure, he forces himself to stay still as Elisa inches closer. Her excitement doubles when she spots fresh rosemary floating in the bath. With an eager smile, she leans in, takes a deep breath of the fragrant steam, then without warning, plunges her hand into the water. As she lifts the rosemary, delight spreads across her face, the scent making her oddly hungry. Lot, ever the foodie, smirks knowingly, but her amusement fades fast. Clutching her stomach dramatically, she groans, loudly declaring it's lunchtime and she's starving. Chiara, ever composed, calmly reassures her. She explains that she has gathered plenty of herbs for cooking. Seeing Lot's eyes sparkle, she smoothly suggests heading to the kitchen to start preparations, promising to join after just a little more time in the bath. While submerged, Alec notices Chiara's efforts to discreetly move the princesses away, making him even more determined to stay hidden. Elisa, eager for lunch, suddenly decides to take a quick dip in the lion's bath first, sending shockwaves of panic through both Alec and Chiara. Alarmed, Chiara quickly tries to stop her, but before she can, Elisa splashes into the tub, only to immediately scream and leap out as the scalding water burns her skin. Chiara, trying to contain her laughter, calmly explains that the water is boiling hot. Elisa, still shaken, is baffled by how Chiara managed to stay in for so long, begrudgingly admiring her endurance. Meanwhile, Alec, muffling his relief, is glad to have avoided exposure. But his peace is short-lived. Elisa, now frustrated and determined, vows to withstand the heat no matter what. To make matters worse, she turns to Lot, encouraging her to join as well. Lot, however, immediately refuses, eyeing the steaming tub like it's her mortal enemy. As Lot hesitantly dips one foot into the boiling water, a wave of childhood memories rushes back, reminding her exactly why she had feared this bath as a child. Meanwhile, Charlotte calmly stirs the water, mixing the herbs while admiring the relaxing steam. Alec, however, is in full panic mode. He barely dares to breathe, knowing that one wrong move could send the herbs floating away and expose him completely. With wide, terrified eyes, he clutches his face, trying to become one with the water. Sensing his distress, Chiara, without hesitation, subtly moves closer, positioning herself in front of him to shield him from view. On the other side of the tub, Elisa, now deep in her own battle, has both feet in the water and is gritting her teeth, determined to tough it out. She starts counting seconds aloud, her expression a mix of suffering and sheer willpower. As Chiara watches him, concern deepens in her eyes. Alec's expression suddenly shifts. His vision blurs, and a strange warmth washes over him. For a moment he feels as if he's somewhere else entirely. Across a mystical river, a familiar figure stands, waving at him. His heart clenches. It's his mother, supposed to be long gone. A chill runs down his spine as he realizes what this means. It's the divide between the living and the dead. And if she's here, calling to him, it means he is near death. But before the thought fully sinks in, a sudden shock yanks him back to reality. Chiara, moving with no hesitation, has ducked underwater, cupped his face, and in one swift motion, pressed her lips to his, exhaling oxygen into his lungs. Alec, utterly stunned, barely processes what just happened before she surfaces immediately, leaving him in the water, wide-eyed, breathless, and even more confused than before. Meanwhile, on the other side, Elisa's legs tingle from the heat, but her face lights up with excitement. She's managed to last 10 whole seconds. Chiara, still composed, casually informs Lot that the other bath has cold water. Intrigued, Lot immediately decides to switch tubs, eager to bathe in comfort. Elisa, grinning from ear to ear, announces her plan to visit the kitchen first before returning for another bath. With a playful laugh, she dashes outside, leaving the room buzzing with relief, especially for a certain someone still hiding in the tub. As both princesses leave and close the door behind them, Alec finally emerges from the water, completely exhausted. He gasps for air, his body slumped from oxygen deprivation. Chiara, startled, asks if he's okay. Still shaken, he stammers about seeing the river Styx, convinced he was on the brink of death. His wide, disbelieving eyes settle on her, the one who saved him. But then, as he fully takes in her flushed, completely reddened skin from enduring the boiling water, his shock turns into embarrassment. She had stayed in that unbearable heat just for him. Feeling ashamed and guilty, he bows his head and apologizes sincerely, regretting all the trouble he caused her. As she stretches and turns around, Chiara smiles playfully, casually mentioning that she actually prefers even hotter baths than this. Alex, still reeling from everything, finds himself completely smitten. Stepping out of the tub, she smirks and teases him, pointing out that since they kissed and even bathed together, if word got out, his reputation would be in ruins. His face drains of color at the thought. Then, with a blissful expression, she turns back to him and suggests sweetly that they keep it as a little secret between them. Alec, utterly shocked and flustered, is left speechless. After the bath, Alec sits outside, completely drained and lost in thought. He recalls a distant custom where couples bathe together to strengthen their bond, leaving him bewildered. Could this mean his relationship with Chiara is now settled? The thought alone sends him into a spiral of panic, his body trembling with nerves. Passing by, Princess Clare stops in shock at his shaken state. Worried, she steps closer and asks if he's all right, but Alec, deep in thought, keeps his head down. No matter how hard he tries, he can't understand Chiara's true feelings, his confusion and frustration only growing, further worrying Clare. She scoots closer, urging him to explain. As Alec hesitantly reveals that Chiara treated his wounds, Clare's eyes widen. When he adds that despite his doubts about the herbs, his injuries were nearly healed by morning, her disbelief deepens. However, he carefully omits the part about bathing together, keeping it their little secret. Clare, now giddy with excitement, dramatically declares that if Chiara's herbs healed him, it means she has already accepted him. Alec stares at her in disbelief, completely stunned. Overwhelmed yet grateful, he silently thanks Chiara in his heart. But before he can fully process it, Clare waves away his gratitude and swiftly changes the subject. With a mischievous grin, she pulls out a tattered book and places it in his hands. Alec's horror grows as he recognizes it, a popular romance guide. Smugly, Clare reveals that she rescued it from the castle's waste bins, convinced it will help him make things official with Chiara. Still recovering from the previous shock, Alec is now utterly speechless. Oblivious to his reaction, Clare eagerly flips to a section, pointing to a survey of 100 townswomen on their ideal lover. Leaning in, she challenges him to guess the top answer. Alec, completely unprepared, panics as she moves closer, his face burning. Scrambling for an answer, he blurts out the first thing that comes to mind. To his surprise, the answer is simple: an ideal lover must listen. Both immediately realize their close proximity and, flustered, quickly pull away. Alec, still reeling from such a straightforward trick, listens as Clare, now serious, explains that it's not just about listening, but showing genuine interest. If he masters this, she claims, he can win over anyone. A spark of determination ignites in him. He can do this. Clare rummages through her basket, continuing in a thoughtful tone. She explains that Princess Euchar would love to hear his stories. Her curious nature makes her eager to engage, and while she may seem quiet and reserved, asking about her interest brings her to life. Clare then shares an important detail. Euchar has recently become fascinated by cursed vines. Alec, now determined, understands that this is his chance. As Clare recalls her last meeting with Euchar, she excitedly explains how Euchar admired Sir Alec for his bravery against the cursed witch. When she shyly suggested accepting Alec's help, while conveniently forgetting their unexpected kiss, Euchar seemed delighted and agreed with the idea. Hearing this, Alec feels an unexpected mix of emotions. Listening to this, he truly admires her efforts for him. Now determined to visit, he curiously asks if Euchar is in her room. Clare explains that Euchar has been conducting experiments and researching in the library for the past few days, then offers to take him there. Realizing that he was exiled from this country, and being seen could put him in serious trouble, he moves cautiously, following Clare in silence. As they step into the corridor leading to the underground library, an empty, plain space with nowhere to hide, he suddenly freezes. Before they can turn the corner, Clare looks around and stiffens in shock. Princess Flora is calmly walking nearby. A surge of panic rushes through him as he desperately searches for a hiding place. Noticing Clare, Flora pauses and curiously asks why she is there. Instead of responding, Clare, with a flushed and nervous expression, quickly asks Flora why she is walking here. Calmly, Flora explains that she is bringing tea for Euchar, who has been too absorbed in her experiments to eat properly. Flora eyes her closely, then tilts her head. Her gaze lingers on Clare's reddened cheeks before she lightly advises her not to stay soaked for too long, warning that she might catch a cold. With that, Flora turns and walks away. As Flora leaves, Princess Clare attentively looks outside before lifting the layers of her massive gown, revealing Prince Alec hiding beneath it, his hands firmly covering his eyes. Noticing that he still hasn't moved, she leans in and whispers for him to open them, assuring him that no one is around. When he finally does, he immediately bows his head, flustered and embarrassed, apologizing profusely for the situation while assuring her that he kept his eyes shut the entire time. Watching him, Clare giggles softly, amused by his sincerity. Then, standing in front of the door, she gently encourages him to do his best in making amends with Euchar. Nervously, he pushes the door open, finding Euchar calmly seated on a rolling library ladder, engrossed in a book. Upon seeing her, he clenches his fists, gathering all his courage before asking if he can assist her in any way. Euchar simply swivels on the ladder and calmly states that she was certain he would come, leaving him confused. Noticing his shocked expression, she explains her reasoning, how she deduced his visit based on Clare's behavior. She observed that Clare seemed troubled after the first kiss, and considering how quickly he returned to this continent after leaving, she concluded that they must have come to some sort of agreement. Hearing this, he is even more astonished. He's reminded of Clare's advice to listen carefully, and he finds himself impressed by her sharp deductions. Euchar then continues, calmly explaining his next steps. She points out that merely maintaining a friendship with Clare and returning home is not his goal. Instead, he must build relationships with the remaining 6 as well. She suggests that he should try reaching out to one of them first. When she asks for his thoughts, he is stunned by her sharp analysis. Still in disbelief, he asks if she deduced everything solely from Clare's behavior. With a proud smile, she confidently affirms, explaining that since he defeated the dragon and came to save the country, it was only natural he wouldn't just leave. As she looks at him, the memory of his kiss without her permission resurfaces, making him instantly flustered. Embarrassed, he quickly bows his head and apologizes. However, he is taken aback when she unexpectedly turns around and apologizes to him instead, for the way they had all treated him cruelly, despite him coming here only to help. When he asks in shock if she would truly forgive him so easily, she smiles but raises one condition: he must assist her in solving the mystery of the curse. Without hesitation, he firmly agrees, silently thanking Clare and her notebook for guiding him this far. Excited, Euchar eagerly grabs the book to start her experiment, but within moments, she loses her balance and tumbles from the ladder. Just as she falls, he rushes forward, catching her in his arms. However, the book slips from her grasp and lands directly on his head, causing a painful thud. As they both assure each other that they are fine, he picks up the book, surprised by its weight, and asks about it. She explains that it is a historical record of the kingdom, and she had been searching for any similar past occurrences of the curse, but so far she has found nothing. While he flips through the pages, she curiously brings up the moment she awakened after his kiss. She considers it an important clue in uncovering the mystery of the curse. Impressed by her intelligence, he listens intently, realizing that this might be the key to understanding everything. Suddenly, something outside catches Euchar's attention, and she quickly suggests that he follow her. Pressing against an unnoticed section of the wall, a hidden passageway opens, leading them outside. She discreetly explains that it is a secret pathway into the library and insists that he keep it to himself. Impressed by her knowledge and fascination with books, he nods in agreement. She then rushes toward a sleeping guard, her curiosity piqued. In shock, she wonders aloud whether Alec's kiss works on people other than princesses and, without hesitation, suggests he try kissing the guard. Alec is utterly stunned by the suggestion, but after a moment he considers that it might indeed work. Feeling disappointed in himself for not thinking of this earlier, he removes the guard's iron mask and gives him a quick kiss. However, when the guard remains asleep, Alec is visibly disappointed. Euchar, on the other hand, remains calm, reassured that her initial hypothesis, that the kiss only affects princesses, was correct. Impressed by her reasoning, Alec watches as she suddenly dashes off, urging him to follow for more experiments in the library. But in her haste, she collides with something and falls. Alarmed, Alec rushes to her side. She quickly assures him she's fine, but when she glances down, she notices her shoe is broken. Calmly, she removes it, ready to walk barefoot, but Alec moves before she can react. Shocked, she stiffens as he lifts her onto his shoulder. Protesting that she isn't injured, she insists she can walk, but Alec firmly reminds her that the rough stone path could hurt her. When she hesitates, worried about dirtying his clothes, he dismisses her concerns, insisting she change before catching a cold. Without another word, he carries her effortlessly toward her room. After climbing to the 6th floor, Alec reaches her room, exhausted but relieved that no one has seen them. Gently, he sets her down on the bed. Though clearly tired, he feels at ease knowing she isn't hurt. When she apologizes for the trouble, he dismisses it with a smile, simply glad that she's safe. His exhaustion quickly fades, replaced by shock and admiration as he takes in the room's breathtaking decor. Rare and exquisite pieces fill the space, captivating him. Noticing his interest, she excitedly shares her hobby, collecting rare items from merchants and travelers. Eagerly, she displays her prized possessions, including intricately patterned fabrics. Holding up a traditional cloth from the East, she admits she loves it but has never worn it, fearing others might find it odd. Now, however, she decides to try it on, and Alec encourages her, agreeing that she should. Just then, she lets out a small cough. Without hesitation, she decides to change before catching a cold. Without a second thought, she begins undressing right in front of him. Alec freezes. His face burns as panic sets in. Whipping around, he quickly shouts for her to stop. When she shows no sign of understanding his distress, sheer desperation takes over. He grabs a curtain and yanks it between them, his voice unsteady as he insists she change behind it instead. Realizing her mistake, she quickly apologized. Alec exhales sharply, still shaken. Though he brushes it off, his racing heart betrays his shock. She truly has no sense of modesty. Before he can recover, she peeks out from behind the curtain, flushed with excitement, and offers him the imported fabric. Alec panics, refusing, but she insists. His clothes are dirty because of her, and this fabric is actually meant for men. Despite her plea, he hesitates, still uncertain. Frustrated, she throws the garment at him, saying it's nothing compared to the help he's given her. With a shy, grateful smile, she asks him to accept it before quickly hiding behind the curtain. Holding the clothes, Alec is stunned to realize he's blushing. Before he can shake it off, she peeks out again, even redder, and insists he wear it the traditional way, without undergarments. Though confused, he complies to appease her. Once dressed, he's surprised by the warmth of the fabric. When she peeks again and sees him in it, her face lights up. Seeing her joy, Alec can't help but feel pleased as well. Shocked by how incorrectly he's wearing it, she steps closer and asks him to lift his arms. As she calmly adjusts the sash, her fingers graze against him, making Alec incredibly flustered. Though she's simply fixing the outfit, he panics. If she keeps coming this close, something improper might happen. When she moves behind him to tie the cord, he's frozen in helpless embarrassment, only relaxing once she finally steps back. Admiring her work, she smiles, saying the outfit suits him well. On her suggestion, he looks in the mirror and is genuinely mesmerized. Yawning, she expresses relief after all the preparations. To his shock, she casually sits on the couch and explains her conclusion. Since his kiss didn't work on the guard, it must only affect princesses. Then, clearing her throat, she proposes another test, this time on sleep. Turning to him with a serious expression, she asks him to help continue the experiment by kissing her. Alec is completely stunned. Seeing his utterly shocked and puzzled expression, she remains unfazed and continues, explaining that she's feeling dizzy, making it the perfect time for the experiment. When he asks in disbelief if she hasn't slept, she admits she stayed up all night searching through books. Now, if his kiss truly awakens someone, it could help break the curse. Alec immediately refuses, insisting there must be another way. But stepping closer, she gently reminds him of his promise to help, questioning if he was lying. Flustered, he loudly declares he wasn't lying, but kissing isn't a proper experiment. Still, frustrated by his hesitation, she points out that he had no problem kissing the castle guard earlier. Despite his resistance, she, now frustrated, moves even closer, urging him to prepare for the kiss. Panicked, he tells her to calm down, but she confidently takes his hand, proving she's already calm by showing her steady pulse. Flustered, he watches as she explains that a sleeping person's pulse remains relaxed. If her heartbeat speeds up after the kiss, it would confirm she's fully awake. Realizing the logic in her experiment, she suddenly holds his hand and kisses him. His heart races uncontrollably, but staying composed, he checks her pulse, still steady. This means the kiss hasn't awakened her. Curious, she wonders if there's a precise way to measure her pulse. Excited, she recalls the sleepiness detector found in the castle. Wrapping the spring device around his wrist, she activates it, and to his shock, an image of his pulse appears. Staring at it in disbelief, he mutters, "This is magic." Excitedly, she shows him the clock, explaining that they need to test different kiss durations to measure its effect on her sleepiness. Shocked, he realizes she plans to keep kissing until she finds a solution. Before he can react, she sets the timer for 5 seconds and kisses him. Though she treats it like an experiment, he's overwhelmed by her scent and the rapid beating of his own heart. As the seconds tick by, he grows more nervous. He's never experienced a kiss this long. When she finally pulls away, she disappointingly concludes that, while her pulse increased slightly, she's still not fully awake. However, she notices his restless expression, surprised by his reaction. His flustered remark about her unusual calmness makes her realize why her sister was so mad over a simple kiss. When he asks if she truly feels nothing, she nonchalantly dismisses it, stating that saving the country matters more than personal feelings. Without acknowledging his reaction, she declares the next experiment a 10-second kiss. This time, rather than resisting, he's impressed by her resolve. Realizing he's been caught up in minor distractions, he steadies himself, determined to focus on the mission. Determined to help her at any cost, he nods. With a reddened face, she thanks him and steps closer. This time, her heart races as she kisses him, setting the clock in motion. The detector rapidly charts her pulse, spiking so high that the machine malfunctions. Excited, he wonders if the experiment worked, but she suddenly clutches her chest, declaring that her heart is beating abnormally fast and she feels unwell. Shocked, he listens as she worries she might be catching a cold. Panicked, she abruptly pushes him away, afraid he'll get sick too. Concerned, he asks if she's okay, noticing her flushed face, but before he can step closer, she hurriedly apologizes, shoves him out of the room, and slams the door shut. Inside, she clutches her burning cheeks, struggling to calm down. Outside, he stands in stunned silence until Princess Mia drops her teddy bear, staring at him in shock.